I attended the meetings on the plastic bag ban, and one meeting in particular when Jeff, who had the New York Deli, had gotten a petition signed by over 60 businesses, and the basis for the petition was the increase in cost to the businesses to comply with the ban. And then I remember hearing that it takes paper longer to decompose than plastic. And I don't think those businesses weren't heard. When the piece of paper was handed to the mayor, she didn't even look at it. She just tossed it aside and said, "We've been working on this for 2 years." Well, in my opinion, if you've been working on this for 2 years, you should have been consulting the businesses over those 2 years to find out what the financial impact was going to be on their business. And I remember specifically the gentleman coming from representing the Acme, and he started out nice with his presentation, and then he basically said, leave our process alone. We have our own recycling process, and we recycle bags to benches. And I thought, this would be perfect for Chestertown. You know, the whole town can participate in this recycling contest, bags for benches, and it would benefit our anchor store, and it would benefit everybody because they would have a place to really concentrate on recycling their bags. It would have been a lot cheaper for our businesses if the town had bought recycling containers and maybe put them at Dollar General around town and let everybody get into this campaign of recycling instead of putting this financial burden on our businesses. Okay. I got an email. I stopped home one Saturday, and for some reason I looked at my emails, and there was an email to me and to the mayor. And I read the letter, and this fellow wanted to get into the market with his coffee beans. And looking back on it, the difference between the two of us who received the email was within 2 hours I was knocking on his door. And I invited him to come to the town meeting. I said, there's a town meeting Monday night. I invite you to come. He wrote a letter to present himself, and I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined what happened at the meeting. The mayor immediately said, you can't just come in here and expect to get into the market. There's a waiting list. And I didn't know anything about a waiting list, and so it was a big mess. And Doug Ray at Evergreen invited Tim, I don't like to use people's names, but anyway, Tim, to share his tent. And I thought, well, this is fine. This is wonderful. If this is how I have to get somebody into the market, so be it.
But would you have voted for the marina, or would that have given you?
I told somebody recently that I wouldn't have. When in hindsight, and hindsight from what I know now, I would have investigated a lot more onto the dredging, especially what is going to attract boaters to come 20 miles up the river to the marina. They had talked about originally of having like a fish market. Can't say let's buy the marina because we want to preserve this piece of waterfront. It would have to have been, and I would have had to have investigated a lot more. What is it going to cost to maintain this marina, aside from the mortgage, and keep it a viable port? It was a royal port at one time. And what activities, what amenities are we going to be able to give to our voters, how much is that going to cost? Bottom line, how much is that going to cost? I made a promise when I ran for the council. I had somebody at one of the forums, somebody stood up and said, I'm thinking about opening a business in Chestertown. What would you do for me? And I said, at that time, the governor was trying to push a new business initiative to fast forward people to get into their businesses through licensing and this, that, and the other, fast track that process. And I said, I would be at the front door to greet you. I would not be knocking on your back door with a list of regulations, taxes, and fees. Every new business that has come into Chestertown since I was elected to the council, I have met them. And one of the issues that everybody talks about is the sign ordinance. And so here we are again with the sign ordinance and updating that sign ordinance. Business, you don't open a business on a whim. You open a business or start a business because this is your livelihood. I do not believe in infringing on people's livelihoods. My grandfather was a small business owner. My father was a small business owner. My son has a small business. We made a living. This is how we made a living, and we made a good living. And the business that my grandfather was in and my father, we used the barter system a lot of times. We would go home in the wintertime and there might be a goose or a duck or two ducks laying on the doorstep. You know, somebody couldn't pay. We would always have rockfish in the summer. We'd have oysters, crabs, and this was the way we lived, and this was the way people lived. If they couldn't pay you in money, they paid you in goods sometimes, which I always said we always ate well. And I know that this is the basis for good business practices. And if you decide to start a business, this is your livelihood. I do not believe that government should make it so stringent and so strict on you that it destroys your dreams. And I know that I've heard that people have come into the town office and wanted to open a business and have just given up. I know that there are people who have wanted to start businesses not only in Chestertown but Kent County and have just given up. They've been turned away. This isn't right. One of the first things I'm going to do is to designate all of that hotel tax money into where it should be, marketing, which means that $53,000 would have to be shifted out of that revenue source. It really, Chestertown's hotel tax is 5%. 2% goes to the county for tourism. $6,000 goes to the visitor center, and the rest of the revenue is, in my opinion, for marketing for Chestertown. I would love to see a new website, a new living website. Chestertown has no economic development. And so I will make sure that all of the money that comes in from the hotel tax that isn't appropriated already will be spent on marketing to give us a viable and living website. What's here? This is us. This is us. This is where we are. This is who we are. And if you want to move here, and we don't have Walmart, but make Delaware a positive for us, we're 45 minutes. If you want tax-free shopping, we can't get away from it. Delaware's right next door. Don't expect the businesses to come find you. And if you want to attract businesses, you do a feasibility study. You do your own feasibility study. And in that feasibility study, you say, just what I just got finished saying, this is who we are, where we are, what we are, and we're this far away from tax-free shopping. I will never look at Chestertown or this area from the outside in. I always look at it from the inside out to protect and preserve our heritage here.
Does that include not having a sign?
No, it does not include not having a sign. I've traveled all up and down the East Coast, and I talked to everybody. And I was in Athens, Georgia, before Memorial Day last year, and it was dead. I got back here Memorial Day weekend, and it was dead. This is the University of Georgia. I said, where is everybody? Well, when the college closes, our town's pretty much dead, and a lot of people take their vacation. The restaurant owners take their vacation in the summertime. I said, what? Chestertown's not dead in the summer. You know, it's thriving in the summer. You can't get to all the activities that go on in the weekend, on the weekends around here, and just look in the paper. Look on the Chamber's website. You know, look on Sure to Be Fun, and it's between here and Rock Hall and Turner's Creek, and you know, they just had the Apple. I think it was the Fall Festival, and downrigging. Downrigging's coming up. Last year, we had Sandy come through. I'll tell you something else. I went to every resident in my ward on Water Street to make absolutely sure they were prepared for the hurricane coming through here. We had no idea. It could have been like Isabel. It was like Sandy. But you don't know. And in the pouring rain, I put the rake in the car, and I was raking the leaves off the storm drains, you know, on Mill Street, and helping people down on High Street. There was a blockage under that area where they drive their car up into the driveway, and it just, this is the way I was brought up. I told you my grandfather was mayor of Chesapeake City. This is the way I was brought up, and I take care of my people. And I